The first time I saw Karen marching toward my food truck, I knew trouble was coming. She wasn't just walking. She was stomping, arms flapping, her floral dress straining at the seams as if the fabric itself feared her temper. Her face was red and glistening with sweat. Her lips curled into that familiar sneer that every neighbor had learned to dread. "You can't park this monstrosity here," she barked, pointing at my truck as though it were some kind of disease. "It's an eyesore. It lowers property values. The HOA will not tolerate it." I froze with my spatula in hand, halfway through flipping a burger. The smell of grilled onions and smoked brisket filled the air, and customers waiting by the curb looked on in confusion. It was a summer afternoon, and the line at my truck stretched down the block. People laughed, ate, and enjoyed themselves until Karen's shrill voice cut through the warmth like glass shattering on concrete. "This is my business, Karen," I replied evenly. "I own this truck. I own this driveway. And I have the permits to operate here. You don't get to dictate what I do with my property." But she didn't even blink. She puffed her chest, lifted her chin, and pulled out her phone. "Oh, I can dictate it. And I will. Watch me shut this circus down." Minutes later, 2 code enforcement officers arrived. Karen had called them with wild claims illegal operation, food safety violations, even accusations that I was selling alcohol to minors. The crowd fell silent as the officers approached, clipboards in hand. Karen hovered behind them, smug as a cat that had cornered a bird. I could see her practically vibrating with glee, ready to watch my livelihood collapse. But here's where she underestimated me. I had spent months fighting for every permit, every inspection, every license. I knew she would come after me. She had been harassing neighbors for years, fining them for lawn ornaments, threatening lawsuits over mailbox colors. So I prepared. When the officers asked for paperwork, I handed them a thick binder, neatly tabbed and certified. Food safety inspection. Passed. Vendor's license. Current. HOA clause exemption. Signed off by the county commissioner. Karen's smug smile faltered as they flipped through the pages. She stammered, "And no, this can't be right. He's a scammer. He's ruining our community with greasy smells and tacky signage." But the officers only nodded, returning the binder to me. "Sir, everything checks out. You're operating legally." They turned to Karen, their voices cooling. "Ma'am, do you have proof of your claims?" She opened and closed her mouth like a fish gasping for air. "No proof. Just venom." The neighbors, still clutching their paper plates, began whispering. A woman in line chuckled. "Looks like the only thing greasy here is your attitude, Karen." Laughter rippled through the crowd, and Karen's cheeks flushed crimson. She spun toward them, shrieking, "You'll regret siding with him. This truck is a plague." But the crowd had tasted freedom and brisket. They weren't going back. Someone pulled out their phone and started recording. Karen's voice, shrill and desperate, echoed down the block. "He's poisoning you. Don't eat this trash." But her tantrum only made her look ridiculous against the backdrop of smiling customers biting into loaded tacos and burgers. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One of the officers recognized Karen. His partner leaned close and whispered something, and soon they were both frowning at her. "Ma'am," the taller one said, "we've had several complaints filed against you recently. Harassment, false reports, misuse of HOA authority. If this continues, there will be consequences." The neighbors gasped, their whispers turning into open chatter. the queen of the block, the self-proclaimed guardian of property values, was being warned by officials in front of her own subjects. Karen tried to recover, waving her arms like a drowning woman. You don't understand. I'm protecting the community. This man, this truck, this whole thing is a disgrace. But the officers had already walked away, shaking their heads. That was the day the tide turned. Customers doubled, then tripled. My truck became more than a business, it became a gathering place. A symbol of defiance against her petty tyranny. Families picnicked on their lawns just to spite her. Kids ran around with ketchup on their shirts. And neighbors laughed louder than they ever had, basking in the joy of rebellion. And every time Karen stormed out to scream, someone recorded it, and it spread online. Soon she wasn't just our problem, she was a viral sensation. A caricature of HOA madness, plastered across social media feeds with captions like, Karen versus the food truck king. The humiliation ate at her like rust. She grew more frantic, filing complaint after complaint, all denied. She stalked me with her phone, live streaming tirades about illegal meat and grease crimes. But the more she fought, the more pathetic she looked. And slowly, her reign crumbled. Karen's tantrums didn't stop after that day escalated. She doubled down, stomping out onto her lawn whenever my truck rolled up, screaming like a banshee about grease stink and trash people. She even carried a clipboard, scribbling notes furiously, pretending to log violations as if she were a government inspector. Kids on bicycles laughed as they rode by, mocking her with fake clipboards of their own. The more she raged, the more the neighborhood turned against her. One night, just as I was packing up after a long shift, Karen made her boldest move yet. She dragged 2 large garbage cans across the street and tipped them over in front of my truck, blocking me in. Greasy trash, rotten leftovers. The smell so rank it made my stomach churn. She stood over the mess like a queen defending her throne, arms crossed, daring me to act. If you think you're going to roll your circus through here again, think twice, she hissed, her voice low and venomous. I'll bury this truck. But her plan backfired spectacularly. My truck's security system had cameras rolling the entire time. Within hours, the footage was online. HOA Karen dumps garbage to stop food truck spread like wildfire, racking up views and comments. Strangers chimed in from around the country. This woman is unhinged. She hates joy. Imagine being mad at tacos. What Karen didn't realize was that the internet had a long memory. And her face hurt, furious, grotesquely triumphant in front of spilled trash, was now etched into it. The very next week, the HOA board called an emergency session. For years they had tolerated her antics because she was loud and intimidating. But now she was a liability. The neighborhood had become infamous. Reporters sniffing around. Cameras parked on corners. At the meeting, neighbors lined up to air their grievances. Mrs. Patel spoke about the time Karen demanded she cut down her tulips. Mr. Alvarez brought receipts showing fines Karen had pocketed. Even quiet old Mr. Johnson raised his hand and said, "She called the cops on me for sitting on my porch." Each story piled onto the mountain of evidence. Karen sat there red-faced, fidgeting, trying to interrupt, but the board silenced her. By the end of the night, a vote was cast. Karen was officially removed from the HOA leadership. It should have ended there. But Karen wasn't the type to fade quietly. She tried to rally allies, spinning tales about how she was being persecuted, how I had brainwashed the community with free samples of brisket. But no one bought it. She found herself alone, cut off, her power gone. And then came the final twist of fate. The county health department, already familiar with her antics, decided to audit her. Why? Because Karen had been moonlighting with a side business of her own, selling homemade baked goods under the table, trying to earn extra cash. She'd bragged about it online, boasting that her community-approved muffins were better than my greasy meat. When the inspectors showed up, they found her so-called kitchen operation was a disaster. Expired ingredients, moldy pans, unsanitary counters. The fines were heavy, and her little side hustle collapsed overnight. From queen of the HOA to failed baker, her fall was steep and merciless. With fines piling up and her reputation in tatters, Karen had to find work. And that's when the rumors spread Karen, the woman who tried to destroy my food truck, was flipping burgers at the gas station 2 exits over. The irony was so sharp you could taste it. People drove by just to see it for themselves. Karen in a paper hat, sweat dripping down her forehead, slapping frozen patties onto a grill that hissed under fluorescent lights. The neighborhood thrived without her shadow. My truck became the heart of the block. Families gathered every Friday night, kids running around while music played and the smell of smoked meat filled the air. We turned it into a tradition, a weekly festival of sorts, neighbors laughing and talking without fear. The truck that Karen tried to bury had become the very thing that healed us. One evening, as I served a line of hungry customers, a man in a suit approached me. He introduced himself as a local business investor. "I've been watching your story," he said, handing me a card. "That food truck has more than just food. It has community. Ever thought about expanding?" My chest tightened with pride. All the battles, the harassment, the humiliation, it had led to this. An opportunity to grow, to build something bigger than I ever imagined. Meanwhile, Karen's downfall continued. Videos of her flipping burgers surfaced online, filmed by passers-by who recognized her from the viral food truck saga. Comments poured in, from HOA queen to burger flipper. Karma special, served hot. She finally got what she deserved. Her name, once feared, had become a punchline. And yet, I didn't celebrate her misery. Standing there by my truck, I realized something deeper. Karen's downfall wasn't just about revenge. It was about proof that bullies can't hold communities hostage forever. When people stand together, lies crumble and truth wins. She tried to suffocate joy, but in the end, she only exposed her own emptiness. Now, when I fire up the grill and the crowd gathers, I think about that night she blocked my truck with garbage. I think about the cuffs she imagined for me, the ruin she hoped to see. And I smile, because we showed her and the world that no amount of rage can stop what is built on love, community, and hard work. So what do you think? Was it justice that Karen ended up flipping burgers at a gas station? Or was that punishment too light for the chaos she caused?